Hello and welcome to the Pleasurepreneur podcast. This podcast will help you create what you desire in your business with pleasure. Whether that be calling in your ideal clients, making more money, or creating a balanced business life blend. I'm your host, Regan Fig, pleasure and business coach, published author of A Mother's Pleasure, wife and mama to 3 little wildlings. However you're choosing to listen to this podcast, ask yourself, how can I make this more pleasurable? And do just that. I acknowledge the custodians of the land on which this podcast is recorded and produced, the Wadi Wadi people of Dharawal land. Now, let's proceed with pleasure. Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Thanks for being here. In this episode, I'm speaking to fellow pleasurepreneur Kat Thomson about growing her course creation business amongst all that life has to offer her as a working mama of 2, and what she's created working with me inside this current round of the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind. Kat is an incredible course creation coach who supports her clients who are multi-passionate, spiritually centered women create personally fulfilling, profitable courses that not only generate an income for their families, but make a positive impact for themselves, their families, their clients, and the world. I've witnessed how attuned Kat is to her clients and how she enables them to embrace progress at their own pace, free from hustle, burnout, and overwhelm, which is something that she prioritizes in her own coaching business. The foundations Kat has laid in her business and the results she's achieved in her business have been cultivated in the same way that she helps her clients succeed, with aligned action, intention, and a sense of spaciousness. Kat's created such wonderful growth within her business, as well as within herself and within her personal life, some of which we speak to in this episode. She is a generous, warm, non-judgmental coach with infectious energy and a wealth of course creation knowledge. If you're considering creating a course, this episode is for you. And if you're seeking more evidence that you can make a good income in your business whilst infusing your life and business with pleasure, this episode is for you. And also, if you want to hear about what it's like to work with me inside the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind, this episode is for you. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Kat as much as I did, and you head straight over to her Instagram to connect with her and her incredible energy. Now let's proceed with pleasure. Hello, Kat, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. It is so great to have you here. I'm so excited for this chat. So everyone, Kat is one of my most delicious clients. They're all delicious clients, but Kat has been working with me for the last, over 12 months now.
Mm-hmm.
She is in my current round of the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind and signed up for the next one. So if you're thinking of joining, know you'll be in really lovely, nurturing, supportive, non-judgmental company. And Kat is a course creation coach who, from what I have seen, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about what she does and who she works with, but from what I have seen, she not only helps her clients bring their courses to life, but she helps them to navigate all of the other stuff that comes up as we are birthing our business babies into the world. She is an absolute powerhouse and an incredible woman that you would want to have in your corner, especially if you are bringing a new course to life. So welcome, Kat. So great to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about you? This is the question, right? Oh, tell us a bit about you and what do you do?
Sure. Absolutely. Firstly, I am a mum of 2. My kids are 6 and 8 years old. And my background is as a high school teacher. And I've taught in crazy places like a British prison and aquariums, and I taught at university. And yeah, motherhood really cracked me open. And I had 2 miscarriages before my children. And that whole process, I guess really opened the way for these little voices that I'd always known were there to say, hang on, the way you're doing things is not actually how you want to be living your life. And really planted the seed. Fast forward to now, and I help expertise-based women, mothers, create profitable impactful, fulfilling courses without the hustle, the burnout, and the overwhelm. I really, in the whole narrative, the hustle narrative, or particularly in the course creation world, it's all make it in 40 days, make a course in 2 hours. And for us multi-passionate women, that just doesn't work. We've got too many balls that we're juggling in the air. And the narrative that I want to introduce is that let's create a sense of spaciousness. Let's go about this in a really conscious way. And my way is like the conscious course creation way. And we can make it work. You can absolutely reach your goals, but you get to choose how you do that. And you've helped me get there myself.
Yeah, you're absolutely pleasurepreneur through and through. And I love that you're then sharing that with your clients. And this is perfect. You're the perfect person to have on this podcast because it is the Pleasurepreneur podcast. We want to make sure we do things in a way that feels really good whilst achieving the results that we desire, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what has felt the most expansive type of thing that you have done in your business or that you have grown into? Let's talk about some expansion, some growth. Like, what has felt like a big growth for you, whether that's internally or in your business or both?
Yeah, goodness, so many things. But the first word that definitely comes to mind is my capacity. And I remember in the early days saying to you, like, I know I want to do all these things, but I'm really at capacity already. How do I create a business whilst being the mother that I desire to be? But I'm already like running on thin air kind of thing. And so capacity in terms of how much I can hold myself and my ability to hold all the mind drama that comes up and my capacity to have work with my partner in our relationship and to hold space for my children. And then I remember building out these systems that work for me in my business and my capacity to work with my clients. And like all of those things didn't exist a couple of years ago. Yeah. So it's definitely, I know a lot of people relate to this. There's just so much like internal invisible work that we need to do before that kind of is externally seen by everybody else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I think, just my confidence to, as all the challenges come up and the mind drama comes up, so much imposter syndrome, so much like perfectionism, so many like shoulds, and there's always like a new loop and a new cycle going around that comes through as new things come up in life. And you've really provided me with space to move through those, but also strategy. And I'm getting much better at moving through those things quickly. My confidence in myself to move through those things has, like during my last launch, the platform I was going to use I realized that despite all of this research I'd done, it actually couldn't do a really significant thing that I needed it to do. And so mid-launch, I switched platforms and it felt like a lot. But a couple of years ago, I think I would have melted down and just thrown in the towel and put my head in the sand. And in this case, I was able to move through that within 2 or 3 days pretty confidently and just make it work. So yeah, confidence in like my own ability that way. But also I don't snap at the kids as much. I don't get so angry with my partner. I don't get so resentful with him. And confidence that I can allow myself to enjoy things. That confidence that I know I can give myself a permission slip to say, actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Or let's do this in a fun way, in a way that feels good.
Yeah. And I feel like that there, I know that's like you shared that at the end there, but I feel like that's stuff that happens in the background that increases the capacity and improves your confidence and things like that. When you're allowing yourself to do more things that bring you pleasure, whether that's within your business or just within your life or within your family, that adds to that fuel that you have in order to make the decisions that are going to be a lot more aligned with you, in order to feel more confident in yourself, in order to have an increased capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, let pleasure lead. And before I met you, it was always like follow the breadcrumbs is what I would say. And now it's follow the pleasure breadcrumbs or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I did for one of my last free experiences in the lead up to the mastermind launch. For some reason, I just had this desire to talk about like launching with pleasure. And I thought, no, that doesn't really, in my mind, logically, that didn't make sense. And so I kept going through all these different scenarios and being like, okay, I could do this first and then that thing. And then I was, maybe I should just take my own advice and just let pleasure lead. What would bring me pleasure? What do I desire? And it was so great. And in hindsight, I'm like, that's why that had to come first. I love that I chose to do that. Like the strategy, the desire and the pleasure is the strategy. And when we have the confidence to follow that, not only does it fuel us and it feels good, but we're like, oh, okay, like it was taking us somewhere. There is an intelligence to that.
Yeah,
So,
that's why I love working with you, because you live what you speak, and you always find like the simplest route through, and that is pleasure driven or desire driven. But you just have this ability to be like, we can do these huge, we can have these big ambitions, but we don't have to make it complicated. We can like really simplify this and make it feel good. And yeah, that is one of your superpowers for sure.
oh, thank you, my love. Well, talking about simplifying things and making things feel good, is there anything that you can think of that if somebody is listening to this and they want to create their own course, and maybe they're experiencing some of the things that you've talked about earlier, like imposter syndrome, like maybe fear of judgment, lack of confidence. If they're experiencing those kind of things and they want to create their own course, what might be a kind of really simple step for them to take in terms of starting or mapping out their course?
Yeah. Number one, we were having this reflection in my own group coaching container this morning about how all the steps that everybody realized that they took that they didn't need to take, the mistakes, as they don't want to call them, but because we learn from those, we are where we are because of the choices that we made. But looking back, don't start by like shopping around for all the platform and all the tech. Don't start there. Get super, super clear on your end game. Why are you creating a course? What's the benefit for you? This is actually an activity from you that's like I've modified from you. What is the benefit for you in creating the course? Benefit for your family, for your community, and then all the benefits for your clients and their families and their communities. Get super clear on that and spend some time thinking like, what would your ideal day look and feel like? But I think a lot of people do what your ideal day would look like, or your ideal week, or your ideal month, but spend some time thinking about how you want it to feel. And I guess in a really practical sense, that is practical, but the first, to make sure that you go down the right path for you as like an educator, as a course creator, is to really understand the type of educational work that lights you up. Are you somebody who actually gets quite drained by working with people? Or doing like a lot of face-to-face Zoom calls, that type of thing? Do you love like to curate resources? If that's the case, then like stay focused on that and do that work, because that will light you up. But that influences the type of offer and the type of business that you'll build. Then at the other end, there's the people who like get really drained by curating, information, but they love face-to-face work and being in that space, co-creating with people in that way. And so the types of offers they might make are probably much more one-on-one, high-end, high-touch consulting, group coaching, mastermind type programs. Their offer type will be like they don't need to work with as many people, because those sorts of offers tend to be a higher price point. Versus the other end, which is if you're curating these resources, then often your offer will be like a lower price point, but then you reach many more people. And then there's the hybrid people who are in the middle, who love a bit of both and want to do both. And so it's really important, I think, to get clear on which type of, in business speak, it would be like what business type, like a founder type you are. And so getting really clear on what lights you up, what drains you, and then building from there, because that will then influence like the type of course and program, or how you're going to educate, or and then how you go about your marketing strategy, that type of thing.
That's so great. That's such great advice. Like, how do you want it to feel, and how do you want to deliver it in a way that feels aligned to you?
Yeah.
They're the great foundations. I love that so much. And instead of like playing business, I call it, which sounds really rough. I did a lot of this as well at the start of my business, because you feel like you just want to be busy. But then you can fall into the trap of, okay, so I'll get business cards made and I never got business cards made though. I'll make a website. I'll start researching. Oh, I'm not educated enough. I'll do another course or maybe I'll get another qualification. And then the actual business itself and the help that you want to offer clients and the work that you want to do in the world, just it's like this can getting kicked down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. And yeah, on that, oh, I'll do another course. Just recognize that you know enough and that you are ready to get started. There are always people who are a few steps behind you that want to know what you know, or they haven't lived the experience that you have yet. Like you've got that lived experience and that wisdom and you embody something, you can help others with that. And yeah, there's no better time than now to get started, truly.
yeah. So, what have been some of the actions that you have taken that have really moved the needle in growing your business? Like talking about one end of the spectrum of the actions we can be taking in our business with making logos, business cards, creating websites, like getting more educated. And not to say anything that those things are wrong, but like up the other end of the spectrum, what have been some of the great like actions that you've taken or skills that you've improved on in order for you to grow your business and call in your clients and begin working with people?
Big question. I think, first of all, I really needed to own and claim that I wanted to be a businesswoman.
Mm.
And I needed to stop hiding that from my family and trying to like squirrel it away into pockets of time that no one else saw. That was like a really big internal shift for me. And we did a lot of work on that together. Yeah. So then being able to get my head out of the sand and get super, super clear on what did I want and how could that actually roll out over, how will that fit into all the other things that are priorities for me as well right now. So a step before that, I guess, is like getting help. Yeah. Trying to do everything by myself. That narrative of, oh, I can do that by myself. Oh, I can do that by myself. Like I really needed to break that and begin working with someone. And I chose you. And I do not regret it for a second because signing up initially to work with you felt outrageous and audacious. And I hid it. I didn't tell my partner for a long time. And I haven't regretted it for a second because we've gone so far beyond what my hopes and dreams were actually. And yeah, so get help. Stop trying to do it all by yourself. Like we have our genius zones, the things that come naturally to us and that we're good at. And then let's just get help in for the rest. We don't need to be like a genius at absolutely everything. Like just work to your strengths, know your superpowers, and then get support for everything else, which in this case was for me working with you as a coach and joining the mastermind. And it's awesome. What are some other actions? I think continuing to work on my own energetics as well. I need to be in a grounded and centered place to be able to call in other people. That's huge. And
we could even rewind slightly there because you've also been calling in people. You've been taking the action to put together like your freebie and call in your ideal clients. And do you know what I mean? You talked about the platform that you used and how even though you'd done the research, it wasn't like perfect. It didn't really actually do what you wanted it to do. And even though something like that happened, you still took the action to keep calling people in and onboarding people. And so I think that's one of the things that I have seen from you, that whilst, yes, you have been doing the inner work and you have been so coachable, like taking the action behind the scenes and laying those foundations and internally, you've also done the work outwardly as well, in terms of meeting your discomfort of selling, in terms of calling in and understanding who your ideal client is, getting really clear on that, sharing your like amazing freebie that went really well. Do you know what I mean? So you've taken the action to actually call in clients.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think meeting the discomfort of selling was a huge one. And there's always new layers, but that breaking through that ceiling initially was terrifying. But the work that we'd done made me feel like, yeah, this is possible. I know I can do it. And I knew that I can do it, but it's just actually showing up. It's so easy when we're just doing this work by ourselves, like keeping it hidden, to not actually take that step out into the world and really like stake our claim and go, I'm here, let's do this.
Yeah. And I think that's probably like talking about busying ourselves, but not actually taking action that moves the needle to increase our income or call in more clients to help. Or I think that's oftentimes doing the stuff that doesn't really move the needle is just us feeling productive, but avoiding the selling, avoiding the discomfort, you know?
Yeah, I did that for years. Wasted a lot of money keeping myself busy. And like, to be fair, I didn't know any better. But once you know better, you do better. Now that we're in Regan's space, we know better, so we can do better.
Oh, thanks, Kat. All right. So, talking about things that have moved the needle for you, what do you feel has been one of the best, perhaps, decisions that you have made in terms of growing your business?
Working with you.
Oh, Kat, thank you.
Seriously, though, because I was stuck in my head, and that wasn't necessarily what you were asking for, but as an example of getting help, like recognizing that I was stuck in my head and that I was treading water, and I was learning so much, but I wasn't taking the actions that would move the needle, as you say. And recognizing in myself then that I work really well being able to collaborate and bounce ideas off and show up just as I am. And I think that so many of us women relate to that. That's how women connect, is through talking and sharing those experiences. Yeah, that's 100%.
Thank you. It's so great to hear as well. And it's also something that, like, at the moment I'm talking about selling, right? So I'm going to be running Swoon, and by the time that this podcast comes out, I'll have already done it. But it's all about falling in love with selling. And it's about this idea of taking away, I think sometimes when it comes to us selling and why we do actually busy ourselves with other stuff and not actually grow our businesses in a way that feels good for us, is because there is this idea of, oh, it's all about me. Yes, I've been able to support you and help you and give you guidance and suggestions and different strategies and things like that. But also, like, you were the one that took that step, that invested, that also needed to overcome probably a bunch of stuff to make that investment. All right. Okay. So talking about doing things that feel good and leading with pleasure, how has the concept of leading with pleasure and being driven by desire changed how you approach your business?
Oh, it is completely changed how I go about my business, because everything I did before used to be led by all the shoulds, all this noise that I hear from social media, like, do this. And it's just like, it was so overwhelming. And then I was just caught in this, but I should be doing this. I should be doing this. And now, like, I get to listen to what I want to listen to. And then that becomes part of this. I think of it like a big kind of basket of knowledge that I have. And then I get to ask myself what would feel good. And I can make a more informed decision about that based on everything else that I've collected before that. That knowledge that I've listened to, or my own lived experience. And so rather than these being like competing devotions, but I just always let pleasure or what I desire lead the way. And as I said before, like I've never regretted following the breadcrumbs, even when I haven't known why, like, logically in my head, that wouldn't seem like the logical next step. I've never regretted it. And now I think of those as desirable breadcrumbs and follow those. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love that. I've never regretted following the desirable breadcrumbs.
Which is hilarious because I'm gluten-free.
The desirable gluten-free breadcrumbs. And do you feel like, because I think sometimes we might have this perception, not us, obviously, as pleasurepreneurs, I think within the world of business, there can be this idea of doing things that you desire just because you want to, doing things that feel good and enjoyable and bring you pleasure. Like this kind of a concept that doing those things and taking that, the pleasure-led pathway or following your desires is like fluffy and it won't actually get you anywhere in your business, and it's like surrender and do nothing. Has that like whole kind of concept and strategy of being pleasure-led and desire-driven in your business, has that actually created results for you in your business?
Absolutely. Firstly, it has allowed me to own the fact that I'm actually quite an ambitious person and that I've got big dreams for myself and my family and where we want to be. Secondly, things that may not have felt so pleasurable before, like this philosophy allows us to find the pleasure and make them pleasurable, do them in a way that feels good. Because, yeah, there's stuff in business I don't want to have to do, but I get to do it in a way that feels good. And that's amazing. And so in terms of like results, yeah, my first big launch, I was hoping to get 10 people in my free event. And then hoping from that, maybe I'd get a couple, 2 or 3 people into my group coaching program. And we did it in a way that felt really good and stretched my capacity to show up where I could. And that meant that instead of getting 10 people in that free event, I got 55.
So great.
And
So-
then from that, totally smashed my goal for my group coaching program. And it's just been like, that's awesome. That's living the dream. That is my desire. I have attained that goal. And it is creating, for me, it's all about freedom and fulfillment in my time, my energy, my health, and my wealth. And here I am beginning to live that.
Yeah. Yeah. So just to be clear for the listeners, that your first freebie launch, that's what you're talking about here. It was your first ever like free experience that you launched, that you had over 55 people, did you say, join?
Yeah.
Yeah. And from that, then you created a 5-figure launch, a 5-figure course program.
Yeah. And like my first goal was to cover my costs for all the things, for all the tech, for coaching, that kind of thing. And yeah, remember when I was able to start paying you from the money I was making in my business rather than like money that from my part-time job that I still have. Yeah, that was such a milestone. That felt so good.
Yeah, so good. And do you think that has been your favorite result so far from being in the mastermind?
That's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was, I think, when I had this sudden desire it was actually to see if I could have fun making money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to put together this little kind of 3-week coaching package offer. I've got space for 3 people. I've got capacity for 3 people. And I put it out there and I got 4.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And that was really the first time I put an intention out with the word fun in there. Can I make money with having fun? And yeah, my goal was 3 and I got 4. So what other evidence do you need?
So good. And I love how you approached it in the sense of, can I have fun making money? I think that would be a thought, a concept, an idea that probably wouldn't cross many people's minds, because I think the idea of making money needs to be like, it's seen as it needs to be hard work and you need to struggle. And for example, launch periods, you're just going to be stressed and exhausted by the end of it. If you want to make it a 10-figure, wow. Look out. If you want to make like a 10K or like a 5-figure launch, that's great, but you'll probably be exhausted, burnt out by the time you actually then run the program. So I love that. Just that is a thought that just popped into your mind as a total possibility. And just like you went with it, let's play with it. When you are coming from a place of pleasure and doing what it is that you desire, and you start to see the results in your business, that adds more and more evidence that this is absolutely totally possible. And then that increases your confidence to do that. And then you continue to create these results. Meanwhile, you are avoiding the depletion and avoiding burnout. Is there something that how do I put this? Let's talk about like balance then. Is there something that feels like it has brought you? Do you feel like the mastermind has brought you such balance, or has also created results in your business as well as in your family? I know you touched on this earlier. But yeah, what have been some results for you outside of your business from what you've learned in the mastermind and what we've done working together?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we call it like a business mastermind. And yet so often, like most of the stuff that I bring in there is actually I'd probably say 50% of what I bring in is like business strategy kind of stuff. And then the other half would probably be just stuff that's going on in my life that's 100%, like they're not separate. And that's the thing. You can see how they're all interconnected. And so was the question other things in my life?
Yeah.
Like
So,
where this work has worked in other places in my life? Is that the question?
yeah. Yeah. Some other results, like, yeah, maybe in your family, in relationship, outside of business, just in the way you feel, perhaps.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay. So probably the number one thing is my ability to have difficult conversations with my partner for sure. And I've been able to have conversations now that I'd been putting off for years. Those moments have been really monumental for
Mm,
sure. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
And
I
then
love,
just like on a day-to-day basis, my capacity to not get so grouchy at bedtime.
yeah.
Like, 'cause that was always sessions like I'm done by then. And so that's always been such a triggering part of my day. And yeah, it's not an issue anymore.
That's so amazing. It's join the mastermind and enjoy bedtime.
Yeah.
Bonus. I'll add that into the tagline. Make multi 4-figure and 5-figure months and enjoy bedtime with your team. Yeah, because like you're getting to the end of the day and you don't have this really low reaction threshold. You've got this buffer because you haven't exhausted yourself with work. You haven't drained yourself doing shit that doesn't feel good for you, that doesn't align with you. You're doing
Yeah.
things your way. Like how empowering, how fortifying.
Yeah. And as you said before, like I'm doing the things that fuel my fire. So yeah, it's both of those, isn't it? I'm not doing the things that drain me and I'm doing the things that actually light me up. And it genuinely does fuel me and lights me up. And that's been a big learning, is that something we haven't really touched on is that I was extremely burnt out before I started working with you, and my health has really suffered, and it's been going on for trying to get clear answers for a little while. And big piece of this journey and letting pleasure lead is that I'd become scared to do more because I was so scared of getting so tired. But now what I know is that I get to do more of the stuff that does light me up and it does fuel me. So now I'm doing more. I'm doing more of the right stuff. Yeah.
That's such a great catch, like such a great realization or insight that you can actually do more, especially if it is the stuff that lights you up. If it's the stuff that lights you up, of course you can do more. You've got a greater capacity for that.
Yeah, because I feel like one of my purposes here on earth is to be like a mum, but I do feel like I have another purpose, which is to do this work. And it's so awesome to get to the end of the day and be like, I was on purpose today and that was fun and I feel good. And yeah.
Yeah, so fulfilling.
Fulfilling. That's the word. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, talking about the mastermind, safe to say you have created some really great results. You've enjoyed the process. Is there anything outside of the results that you've created that you love about the mastermind?
Obviously, I one of the benefits I think of joining a mastermind as opposed to doing like one-on-one coaching is that you're going through it with like other people at the same time who are experiencing the same thing. And I'm a huge believer that I get so much more out of it by listening to how others, that might be something that I've also been through or I haven't been through yet, but hearing it through their lens allows me to examine my own experience from different angles. And so I deepens my own understanding of that, or how quickly I can move through a challenge, for example. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, of course. And also too, the part of seeing other people experience that, you don't feel alone then, and doesn't make you feel as though, I'm thinking for myself, it's so easy when we are solopreneurs to be building our own business and think, oh, maybe I'm just doing the wrong things, or I'm doing the right things in the wrong way, or knowing what other people are moving through as well and seeing how they are navigating things, seeing the things that are then working for them, and watching how that unfolds. Learning from other people's mistakes is such gold.
Yeah, it really is. And even just they articulate things that you haven't been able to put words to yet. And yeah, that kind of just makes that part of your world make more sense. But yeah, absolutely. Knowing you're not alone, particularly when as a working mum, all of my friends are professionals and I love them, but they often won't ask me about how my business is going. And it's not any fault of theirs. It's just that they don't understand the journey of becoming an entrepreneur. And having a group of people who are like, who know exactly what you're going through is priceless for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right. And having other people to celebrate with you, I think like of I could tell like my mom or like friends, as you said, like I could have celebrations with my friends about my business and they would be like, yeah, cool. Like not knowing like what I've traversed to get there or yeah. So that's definitely something that I see as well as being super beneficial. Thank you.
Yeah, they don't, nobody else, unless they've done all that internal work to start with, they don't realize how much it takes to get to whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my like lovely uncle who he's a boilermaker and he makes these like tandem bikes, like all different combinations. He's even got his own bike that's got like a crate on the front for his dog and all this sort of stuff. And he lives away. But whenever I see him, he likes to spend so long like showing me like all the different bikes and whatever. I'm not really interested. And it's not because I don't care or I don't love him. I'm just not that interested. And same thing as you said, it's not a problem with friends and things like that, but it's so good to have your own little club where you get to like froth on business stuff and you get to talk about like the hoops that you've jumped through and the results you've created and like all the little milestones as well as the big ones. But yeah, that's what I also love about a group coaching container. So last question then, if we're talking mastermind, if someone is listening and wondering if the mastermind is for them, what would you say to them?
If you're wondering if the mastermind is for you, then I would say that is your pleasurable breadcrumb and to claim it. Yeah. I have never regretted any of those sorts of decisions for sure. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that is so great. That's like A plus student answer, pleasurepreneur student answer, Kat. Yeah, well done.
It's so nice when you just fully believe it and see like how it's fully transformed my life and my business life. And
Yeah.
I'm fulfilled. There's money in my bank account. Like my kids are happy. It's great.
Oh, I love that wrap up. I'm fulfilled. There's money in the bank. My kids are happy. It's great. So good. Thank you so much. Now, I want you to let me know, is there anything else that you want to share? Like talk, whether it's about course creation, whether it's about business, whether it's about pleasure or blending business and family. Is there anything that you want to share with the listeners that we haven't touched on yet?
Maybe something that we haven't touched on is just how much of when we become a mother and sometimes we can feel like we've lost a part of ourselves or we don't really know ourselves as well as we used to, or some version of that perhaps like business or whatever form of business you want to be in or course creation, like really use that as an invitation or an opportunity to explore to explore this new version of you. Does that make sense? So some of my background is in matrescence training and being this transition that we go through as mothers, and it affects every part of our life and we're becoming this new version, this new identity. And that in that process, my neighbor just walking past, we can feel really lost and we don't know who we are anymore. And that sometimes taking like this type of journey, like creating a course or becoming a businesswoman, is such a great way to like explore those edges of ourselves and these new parts of ourselves or how they've changed. And really embrace that as a really powerful strategy to feel like, I know who I am now.
That is such great advice, Kat. Yeah. And it makes me think like the word comes up in my head of like curious. Just get curious.
Yeah.
You know, what could happen if you decided to create a course? Or what could happen if you decided to go all in on your business? Like what could happen if you invested in coaching in the mastermind? What could happen if you explored that? Let's see.
Questions. And so much fun to play with, right?
Yes. Yeah. And also too, like what you pointed out there is that like business really is, it's like an autobahn like of personal growth. It's like personal growth at hyper speed because all of that stuff comes up for you, whether it's imposter syndrome or self-doubt or people pleasing or like any of that kind of stuff, that will show itself in business. And I think that connects back to what you were talking about earlier. There is so many like internal shifts that happen in growing your business that really adds to your business growth, even though you can't yet see it on the outside. But these are the pieces that like the parts of the foundation that are helping to stack for the next level and the next level and the next level.
And so many people, so many women I've worked with almost didn't get started because they're like, I don't really know what, like, who I am. Like, I don't really know what I stand for. And rather than use this as the vehicle to explore that.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kat. Now, where can people find you?
They can find me. My website is catthompson.com. My Instagram is catthompson.courses. That's really, mostly my playground. So come and meet me over there. And come and send me a DM if you've heard this. And I'd love to hear what you think.
Amazing. Now, I can imagine the people who are listening who are like, oh, yeah, I want to create a course. And we talked about your free offering that immediately got 55 people in there. Are you going to be running that again? Do you have a link that we could send people to if they want to get on the wait list for that? Or is it something they can access?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be relaunching again at the start of 2025. And I would love to share a link with you. And if anyone's interested, come join the wait list. And I'll keep you updated.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Kat.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for everyone listening.
Pleasure. It's my pleasure. I don't think it ever gets old. I'm pretty sure all my listeners and people on Instagram are like, oh God, Regan. It's like my version of a dad joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know you for it.
Yeah.
I love you for it.
Thanks so much, Kat. I really appreciate that. I feel really loved on.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's been a transformative time.
Yeah. And does it feel really good for you to like recap, revisit, reflect on some of the things that you've achieved and the results you've created?
Yeah. I was trying to remember what it was like before I signed up, and I can't even remember that time.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Amazing. Is there any last words that you want to share about the mastermind?
Go for it. Do it. Even if you don't know how you're going to make it work, it will. Trust yourself.
Yeah. Big one.
I've done that. And I've never regretted it. It's always worked out.
Thanks so much, Kat.
Thanks for having me.
That wraps up today's episode. But before I sign off, I want to let you know that doors to the next round of the Pleasurepreneur Mastermind are now open. You're listening to this podcast because you know you can have both, the income and the pleasure-filled life you desire, and the mastermind is where that becomes a reality for you. If you've decided 2025 is your year to create multiple four-figure months in your business whilst being able to enjoy your life, like savoring slow mornings, snuggling your babes in bed, spending quality time with your family, or doing things that you enjoy outside of your business as well as in, you're going to love and totally transform yourself and your business inside the mastermind. It's my 5-month group coaching experience where we apply the key pleasurepreneur principles and strategies that actually move the needle to create multiple four-figure months so that you save your time, your energy, and your presence for where it counts. The mastermind is where you learn how to grow your income, sign more clients, help more people, and create a life that feels outrageously delicious and pleasure-filled for you. It's also the place where you're celebrated, supported, and witnessed by an intimate group of women who get it. You can apply right away by clicking the link in the show notes, or if you're curious and you want to learn more, send me a DM on Instagram and let's have a chat. You can also head to reganfig.com/mastermind or click the link in the show notes. But then I don't get to hear all about you and your business goals and desires for next year, which would be a bummer for me. But you follow what you desire. And if you have any questions, of course, send them my way. We don't begin officially until February, but the sooner you join, the more bonuses you'll get, such as coaching with me this side of the new year. Because it's an intimate group with only a maximum of 8 women inside, be sure to make yourself known to me sooner rather than later as spaces are limited. All right, that's it from me. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye for now.